interesting about the future of work is actually, and when we really think about it, it's actually, and you think about it in regards to sustainability, it's actually the future of the way we organize the corporations and enterprises and the work we do within them, and the way we manage people, and the way we enable the skills and the people to be successful in those environments. How many of you know who Mark Andreessen is? Assuming. So he was, back in 2011, he famously quoted, he's a big VC, big founder that did some work kind of in the born of the internet age. He said that software was eating the world. If you look at what we're talking about today, if Mark Andreessen said software was eating the world back then, what we find is that it's actually defining it today. Most career paths, most structures, most pay scales have all been created around people who have the knowledge get paid the most. But what it does is it allows you to do intelligent transformation of your process. Most automation that's happened in the past has taken something that was done by a bunch of people in a handoff that was actually optimized as a process to optimize the people resources inside it, not to optimize the flow or the knowledge, but to optimize the people in the process. And then you automate it by just taking what a person did and inserting somebody in the thing and handing it off. So you basically do the same sort of automation. If you look at what happens when you take some of these next generation of enterprise tools that will make your company sustainable and competitive, it actually augments the process. It actually enables you to do more with better information, in a different manner, and combines across the barriers of the process as you've defined it in the past. And that's actually good for business.
We are here to really rethink and transform the way the world learns. We're taking over delivering learning and training programs for our corporate clients. And where my role fits in that is as a senior advisory and consultant, I actually support our corporate clients with the strategy, the change management and communications associated with that transition to a new learning platform. And really my goal, based on a bit of the background that you've heard before and just my passion for learning and transformation, is to enable those clients and those organizations that we work with to develop sustainable long-term learning solutions. Children that are going through school today will be graduating, 65% of them will be graduating to jobs that no longer exist by the time they hit the workforce. And now that's a big number, because what that tells us is that we need to think about our future of the workforce and the people that we're taking through the educational segment now and transitioning them into becoming leaders of tomorrow. And I have a solution for you. And no surprise to anybody, it's building a strong learning culture. So the question then becomes, how do you future-proof your workforce? The way that people learn today has changed. And as such, within our own organizations, we now need to cater to those learners. And lastly, but not least, delivering the learning in the way that the learner wants for it to be delivered. So ensuring that whichever way you choose, make sure your platform is device agnostic so that an individual can watch it on their laptop at work, or they can take it home and look at on their mobile device as they're on their commute home, and delivering that learning in a way that's very flexible and easy for the learner.
The cities we live in today are what happens when you don't bring a vision to the technology. We live in far, sprawly cities filled with congestion. And so I think your question is actually the right one to tackle and constantly have front of mind of why do we want this technology, because I think it will keep us honest on the journey towards it and doing the right things we need to do today, so when that technology is ready, we'll be adopting it in the most optimal way possible.
It's actually not about money.
Okay.
I mean, I work with startups that scale huge amounts,
okay.
and the most important thing is that it's never too early to start good culture, good organizational design, good training. So people do it when there's 4 of them, and they do it all the way up. You just tend to not need a big system to manage you when there's 4. You just do it in a personalized way.
From a food and agriculture point of view, what's the biggest challenge in terms of staying current in your knowledge and your experience and getting the right talent to work for your company?
We really try to foster a creative environment as much as possible for people explore?
I'm a very big believer in sort of a loop between innovation and engagement, right? And particularly the workforce today is interested in innovation, interested in new ideas and new processes, technology. And if you are an organization that's known to also be engaged in that kind of learning and development and business direction, then I think you attract that talent. And once you have some people in your door and you give them the opportunity to participate directly in your innovation initiatives and your learnings, then that fosters more engagement and a better reputation out there on the street to attract and retain talent.
How do you attract people, and what kind of talent do you need in that environment?
It's not enough to actually just go out and try and build your own team and hire your own talent. You actually have to get into the pipeline itself and ensure that you're actually helping academic institutions. Vector Institute was established through funding through the federal government, provincial government, and private sector, and it works with the University of Toronto. And so understanding that it wasn't good enough for us to just hire talent in Toronto, but we actually have to be investing in the future talent that some of them will work at Uber and some of them will end up working at other companies. So I think it really depends on where we are and what part of the business we're talking about.
I think that how our business model has changed is that we very purposely started out small, a very dedicated core group of people that are still with us and really form the core of the organization as we're trying to grow organically, both in the quality of work that we do and in the scale of the work that we do. I think the biggest challenge in that is that as we grow, because we have such a collaborative culture in our office, keeping that culture intact when we add more people, when we take on larger projects, when we have to partner with external organizations, that becomes our real challenge. That's where the strength of innovation lies, is in having a truly collaborative business culture, not just paying lip service to collaboration. And it's a lot harder to do than it sounds.
It really comes down to that culture of learning, right? It doesn't really matter how you deliver that, building a culture where you have people that are innately curious, to want to learn more, to want to adapt, to want to be flexible as the roles change, to want to collaborate with each other, building that internal culture that supports that business case.
The platform that we have at Mars is that we help our companies access revenue, access capital, and access talent. That's really kind of the three categories that we work in. I would say in the category that I'm in, which is in, because we have 4 sectors, so we have a health sector, we have a clean tech sector, we have a fintech sector, and then we have basically other, but not really other, it's me. It's the work and learning, intelligent enterprise sector. And really, if you look at our sector, the biggest challenge that our entrepreneurs have, because it gates everything else, is access to revenue. So I spend a lot of my time out speaking and educating people to generate the demand and to help them understand that the time is now, that they have to act. And I also sometimes hate calling it the future of work, because it seems like something that you can wait to act on, but you can't wait to act, because if you wait to act, it's going to be too late. So I would say that in my category, capital is always an issue for Canadian companies, but in my category, it's actually getting people willing to implement, try, and do things differently in the age of busyness that we all have.